All right, let's break down this incredibly high-stakes standoff as it was all reported by Fox News. We're talking about escalating military action, a really tough ultimatum, and a deadline that seriously had the entire world holding its breath.
Right from the get-go, the report just screams urgency. The whole situation is framed by this looming deadline. It's like a ticking clock in a movie. It puts this immense pressure on every single move, every word said, and it really sets a super high-stakes tone from the very beginning.
Okay, to really get the gravity of what's about to unfold, you've got to start with this one number, 90%. 90. According to the source, that's how much of Iran's oil exports come from just one place, Kharg Island. I mean, think about that. It's basically the country's economic jugular. And, as you're about to see, that makes it a massive target.
So, that brings us to our first section, the U.S. strikes on Kharg Island. The report lays out exactly how this all kicked off. It wasn't random. It was a very specific military action, kind of like the first shot in what was shaping up to be a much, much bigger fight. So citing its sources, the report confirmed that U.S. forces hit that critical economic hub we just talked about, Kharg Island. These were overnight strikes, and they went after dozens of targets. We're talking bunkers and ammunition storage specifically. And get this, all of this happened less than 12 hours before the president's big deadline was supposed to expire. The timing is absolutely crucial here.
Okay, on to our second section, the president's ultimatum. You see, that military strike, it wasn't just happening in a vacuum. It was really just the opening act for the main event, the real core of the crisis. A direct, no-nonsense ultimatum from the president that gave Iran a very, very stark choice.
And the whole report really revolves around this one specific deadline, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This was basically pitched as the point of no return. The message was crystal clear. If Iran didn't agree to a deal by that exact time, the president was ready to unleash a whole new and much more destructive wave of attacks.
And wow, the threat was not vague at all. It was incredibly specific. The president was quoted making this unambiguous statement, targeting not just military sites, but the country's critical civilian infrastructure. The message couldn't be clearer. The fallout from not making a deal would be absolutely devastating.
And just when you think the rhetoric couldn't possibly get any more intense, well, it does. The report then points to a post on Truth Social that just completely blows the lid off, raising the stakes from destroying infrastructure to something far more existential. Okay, so this is where the language gets, just wild. As you can imagine, correspondents covering this noted immediately that this was a shocking escalation. That phrase, a whole civilization will die, that's so far beyond anything said before. It suggested a potential conflict on a scale that's almost impossible to even imagine. So with that insane pressure, you have to wonder, why was there a deadlock? Well, this slide shows it perfectly. It just lays out how incredibly far apart the two sides were. You've got the U.S. demanding things like dismantling nuclear facilities and missile constraints. On the other side, Iran is demanding no more attacks, war compensation, and a total removal of U.S. bases. I mean, look at those lists. They're not even in the same universe. There was basically zero common ground. Which brings us to Section 3, Iran's Achilles heel. This gets you a really crucial question, right? Why those targets? Why Kharg Island? Well, according to the report, this was anything but random. It was a very deliberate strategy, all designed to hit one single critical vulnerability. And here's the logic, as it was explained to Fox News by a senior Israeli official. It all boils down to one thing: energy. That's the key. The entire assessment was that the regime's power, its money, its ability to do anything, it's all tied directly to its energy sector. And this chart really paints a picture of that vulnerability. Just look at this. According to the source, we're talking about roughly half, 50% of Iran's entire GDP coming from its energy program. So it's not just a piece of the pie, it's the engine. It's the thing keeping the whole regime afloat. So when you see it like that, the strategy becomes pretty obvious. Hitting energy infrastructure, like those strikes on Kharg Island, that's a direct shot at the regime's main source of cash and power. The game plan was simple, really. Cripple the economy so badly that the regime has no choice but to give in. But here's the thing. These strikes weren't just one-off events. No. The report makes it clear they were all part of a much bigger, coordinated military campaign, which brings us to Section 4, Operation Epic Fury.
And this operation was a full-on multi-front assault happening all at once. The source lays it out. You had U.S. B-2 bombers using bunker busters on the IRGC headquarters in Tehran. At the same time, you had Israeli forces hitting rail infrastructure, and then you had U.S. Special Forces pulling off a rescue mission deep inside Iran. The fact that an ally like Israel was involved just shows you how complex and fast this whole thing was escalating.
So when the correspondents analyzed that Truth Social post, they came to a pretty stark conclusion. The goalposts had moved. This wasn't just about getting a deal anymore. The end goal, as stated in the post, was complete and total regime change. That suggests the ultimate objective was a fundamental, permanent overhaul of the entire government in Iran. And that's where the report leaves us, with this final, almost philosophical question from the president's post, hanging in the air. So as the world watched that clock tick down in one of the most tense moments you can imagine, everyone was left asking the same thing. What on earth is going to happen next?